There are many masters of horror who hid behind the video camera and tormented generations for years to come. And then, like peanut butter with the jelly, like lamb with the tuna fish, there were those incredible actors to step into the shoes of monsters and really send shivers down our spine. Directing and acting go hand in hand into a flawless nature. But what if I told you there was one person out there? I mean, there's probably a couple, but there is one horror icon who was so prolific. He did classics, cameos, metafilms, comedies, porn probably if you look at the right website. And he directed not only one, but two motherfucking bangers. One from the 1980s and one from the 2000s. Damn near 20 years apart from each other. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you're like, yo, Reddy, are they bangers? Are they worth the watch? I'm weird, so I like them, but that's up for you to decide. So today we're gonna be talking about the Springwood Slasher, our boy Krueger, Robert Englund himself, the two flicks that he directed. Come hang out with your boy. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Fandom of the Indie Review. I am your host, Pink Her. Stain my hands. I don't care. I'm not wearing pants. That shit was ice cold. We are on the journey of 4,000 subscribers by my 31st birthday, by my 31st birthday in February. That's right, it's Aquarius season. What sign are you? I missed my friends so much on here. If you've been... The set is haunted. Every time I go to film, either my fat clumsy ass knocks something over or there's a ghost in here. To all my subscribers, I really missed you. Yeah, I fucking miss you a lot. Enough with the annoying shit, dude. I'm on one tonight. If y'all love horror comedy, horror bromance, horror sci-fi, horror gore, horror slasher, the more horror, the better. This is a channel for y'all. And if you're seeing me for the first time and you're like, damn, he looks good, I'm gonna tell you one time for the one time. Let me get your number. Yo, if you hit that subscribe button, I'll be overjoyed. Where was I going with this? If any of that sounds interesting to you, come hang out with me and give me a shubby. To understand the life of a killer, man, you gotta get into a killer's mind, man. To understand the life of a director, you gotta go to college for 20 years and have people tell you your film sucks until one randomly hits and becomes a classic. That wasn't the case for our boy Robert Englund, who blew up from Nightmare on Elm Street, a bunch of other films. 2001 Maniacs. Ever heard of it? But I know what you're thinking already, dude, we know about Mans, he's prolific, he is one of a kind. Let's talk about those movies he directed. Fine, I got you. The first one came in the late 80s and is a little film called 978 Evil. And this one had a very interesting concept to me. It's essentially about a haunted telephone line that reads horoscopes to people. But instead of just reading horoscopes to them and making their lives better, by listening to these phone calls, you have to sign a deal with the devil himself. You know, in the 80s, telephone exchange lines were huge. On TV shows when they're calling about their love life, super slide hotlines. I feel like it was a big part of the older days because people didn't know how to fucking man up and put their hearts on their chest and talk face to face. I mean, I can't even complain now because nowadays we're just texting each other being like, I break up with you, Freddy, you fucking make too many YouTube videos. But for as long as I can remember, electronics have been the bane of evil. And this horror movie exemplifies that. Am I standing straight? This movie has one of my favorite personal underrated actors of all time, Stephen Jeffries, our boy, the high school misfit turned vampire Evil Ed from the 1985 classic Fright Night, but we're not here to talk about that. If you want me to do a video on Fright Night, comment, do a video on Fright Night. And he does what he does best, where he plays a lovable, eccentric, charismatic weirdo, essentially. Him and his cousin Spike live together with his Bible Belt delusional mother. So Spike, played by Patrick O'Brien, and Hoax, played by Stephen Jeffries, are teenagers who live with Hoax overly both are the opposite side of two coins. You know, Spike is rebellious, he's sexy, he's got charisma, he's oozing, he has what some of y'all might call Riz. He's a bad boy for life. I ain't talking Martin Lawrence. And Hoax is a goofball. Like, bro, your name is Hoax. He's just that nerdy dweeby kid. And as much as, they're very different from each other, Spike tries to have Hoax's back. And, he saves him from the bullies at school. He's very distant from him. He's like, bro, you're a nerd, don't talk to me, but I got you at the same time. And the movie does show very subtle moments that Spike genuinely does care about his cousin Hoax. He just can't open up, his mother left him. So he's like, dude, I don't know how to love. But, like oftentimes in life, Hoax becomes resentful of Spike because not only is he cool and has a dope-ass motorcycle, Hoax is in love with Spike's girlfriend. He's like, dude, she's gonna be mine. Even though she's a baddie and he's a dweeb, he's like, I'm gonna get it. And both the boys stumble upon a number, 976 Evil, which on the surface is just a novelty phone line that gives creepy themed fortunes. You know, like you call it and it's like, welcome to 976 Evil. Would you like to talk to the devil? It seems very gimmicky, but you know, at the end of the day, they're like, they're both going through their own traumas, trials, tribulations, so they're both fall upon this number in different scenarios where Spike's like, I'm just gonna call for fun, and he is easily like being like, this is stupid, and then Hoax kind of, caters more into it. However, the line is actually used by Satan himself to subtly corrupt mortals into his bidding. Again, Spike loses interest in the line quickly, but Hoax soon discovers the true nature of the line and uses it to get revenge on everyone who has ever wronged him. Along the lines in this movie, there's a weird private investigator. I can't remember fully why, but he's like looking into Spike's life. So as all these misfortunes and deaths and macabre nature is happening, the private investigator is like, dude, what's going on? And it's cool because the first part of the movie really focuses on Spike, and Hoax is kind of like secondary. From the opening scene of Spike coming into the scene, get into a fight with his aunt. They come outside, he goes outside and there's just fish raining from the sky, which again is a very biblical allegory, and Hoax runs out and he's like, look, Ma, it's fucking raining from the sky. And the mother is all up in arms. She's like, something is ill upon this community. And Spike's like, you're crazy. And we get a lot of, learning and understanding of Spike and his closed offness. His bad boy reputation isn't what it seems. He's very lost. He has a girlfriend that he kind of mistreats. He's too busy playing poker, drinking with the boys, but he does love her. He just doesn't know how to open up. I mean, such is life. And the movie kind of spirals when one night Spike kind of throws his girlfriend to the side and she ditches him and actually bumps into Hoax, and she's like, I know you, you're Spike's weird cousin. And he's just like, yeah, I am. And they end up going out to burgers and kind of connecting, like he's flirting with her, maxing on her, telling her jokes. He's being corny. They're obviously a mismatch, but love is blind, so they say. Little does she know that previously when she was hooking up with Spike in his room, she left her underwear there. And Hoax finds them and he pockets them. He's like, trophy much. Signs of a serial killer? I don't know. Maybe he's just horny as hell. After this date, this little impromptu date of her hanging out with Hoax and being like he might be a good guy after all, she finds the panties in his jacket when he gets jumped by a bunch of bullies and they pull him out. And she's like, I thought you were different, cuh. And he's like, shit, the streets, I belong to the streets. He storms off. And the movie, this movie is very inconsistent and confusing. Like, I paid attention to it, but it just seems like the directing part on Robert Englund's end, I mean, it was his first movie, comes some slack, but it was kind of lacked in continuity. So she runs away, and then Hoax ends up calling this number, and he's like, I'm going to get revenge on everyone that ever wronged me. He's like, fuck this bitch. He's like, we see one part in the diner that she's terrified of rats. Who isn't? I ain't, dude. I put a rat in a ditch. I ain't a gangster. Why do I talk like that? And he's like, I'm going to get revenge on her, and like draws up this insane pentagram using the phone number and the vibes, and like he like summons a will to like send rats after her that like accidentally kill her. And like, again, I know this sounds confusing, like, bro, what are you saying? I didn't fucking understand it when I was watching it. I'm just telling you what I saw. As the movie progresses, Hoax becomes more and more unhinged to the point where the private investigator is going after Spike. Hoax starts talking shit to his mom more. He's like, dude, if you don't give me that phone, you're gonna wish you never fucking raised me. Like, he becomes like thug all of a sudden, and like all the bullies, like there's one scene he's in the bathroom and the bullies are like, nerd, we're gonna give you a wedgie and a fucking flurry. Is that called a flurry? The thing where they put their head in the toilet. A flushie? I wasn't bullied, dude. I was the one giving flushies, dude. And I wasn't. I'm a nice guy. And he finally decides to rebel, and he fucking pimp slaps the dude so hard he splits his face open, and he's like, well. Y'all don't fuck with me no more. Type for the types. He said that. That's a direct quote. And yeah, as the movie, as it goes on and he becomes more invested in this hotline number, the private investigators, he goes off and he like finds a weird abandoned creepy building that all these calls are coming from, and all these people have their weird hotlines. There's this one like old lady that's like been like, I'm a fucking sexy girl, I'm gonna get you, like a sex line. And then there's other ones doing like crazy shit, you know, the typical stuff that you see, you know, hotlines, whatever. You know, they got hotline bling, hotline bling. And he goes up to the dude, he's like, I need to talk to whoever runs the 976 evil hotline. And he opens the door and he's like, dude, this room's been abandoned for years, dude. So then you're like, oh shit, there's cobwebs in there. The devil's real. And it becomes almost too late because Spike is on the verge of snapping and Hoax is becoming more demonically possessed. Like, there's one scene where Hoax goes up to him in school and he's like, yeah, too bad your girlfriend's a bitch. And Spike's like, what'd you just say? He's like, yeah, that's why I had to kill her. And then Spike starts to panic and he's like, what is going on? And, you know, Hoax just becomes unhinged. He just attacks people, just goes ape shit. He goes to the little rundown apartment where the dudes are playing cards, all their bullies, all their ops, and he just slaughters them. And as it's happening, he's like literally physically deformed, like unraveling into becoming a demon, and it's just insane. And I'm gonna keep it absolutely real with you. For a first ever directorial debut from Robert Englund, the movie was fun and it was interesting, and I thought the demonic aspect was a good entry-level concept to dive into, especially with the technology at hand. The phone call service being ran by the devil, that's interesting. Hoax and Spike had good contrast and dichotomy, and they really worked well together as opposites. And, you know, Stephen Jeffries just knocked his quirkiness out of the park. There were some fun scenes. The movie was funny. You felt the character's nature, but I feel like it just wasn't tied together in a perfect bow. They had all these great ideas that just didn't unfold well into the final product, if that makes sense. But for an 80s movie, it's got that nostalgic vibe, and it was fun. So for that, I recommend it. If you just want a movie where you can be like, this is creepy, this is fun, piece, and you don't really care about the story being pieced together too much, then I feel like this movie's right up your alley. And with that being said, definitely check it out. And then you're like, oh, thank God, dude. Robert Englund directed a movie. He can get that out of his system. He can step back into the gloves of Freddy Krueger and just be the horror mastermind he is, which he did for a few more years, but 20 years later, in the early 2000s, he decided to direct another one. You remember that era when it was like Road Trip, American Pie, Saving Silverman, all those really like raunchy bro comedies that were fucking epic? And let's just say that this movie, Killer Pat, it's like if American Pie met Evil Dead, in my humble opinion. And again, it ties together with another demonic theme where these three friends, Craig, Doug, and Brody, one played by Eric Jungman, some dude that I love vigorously. He's just an underrated actor. He's from one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Monster Man. He has a small role in The Faculty. He's like the poor man's Jason Biggs. And, you know, Hollywood keeps snubbing all these light-hearted gentlemen that could carry comedy romances. All these people talk crap about the movie Loser. That movie banged, dude. Teenage Dirtbag is a good song. They go to Hollywood, and when they get turned down for the apartment they rented, they get hustled. They put down the deposit, and it's just a dumpy motel, and the girl's like, you can't stay here because you have dogs. They go on their journey to find another one. You know, they left their small town of wherever, Minnesota or something, and they're like, we got to find a place, and they run into this smoking, hot, sexy, beautiful Asian lady played by Mad TV's icon Bobby Lee, and he looks smoking. I ain't gonna let that go over my head at all. I was like, damn, Bobby Lee, damn. And they get this house, and their ultimate goal is to have a banger-ass party. They're like, dude, we're gonna get bitches, beer, and everything we want. It's the American dream. It's like getting pussy. Why do I say stupid shit? And essentially, right out of the gates, this house is toxic as hell. As they're driving up to the gates at night in the dark, this Spanish dude comes out of nowhere. He's like a house cleaner or something. And in Spanish, he's like, this house is demonic. It's possessed. Please turn back. I want you to live, my friends. And they just hear him saying like Spanish. And he's like, says the word Diablo a lot. And they're like, oh my God, the hot sauce Diablo? Do you want some? We don't have any, but we got some ketchup. We got some French fries for you. And the dude's like, there's a language barrier. And he's like, no, Diablo, devil, whatever. And they're like, whatever, you want the French fries? No, all right, food snob. I was like, oh my God, these three characters are so stupid, and every single line and motive they have in this movie is just so corny and quirky, but it just works for me. I thought it was funny because it was intentional how dumb they were. And it just blows my mind how Robert Englund directed this movie. It makes you wonder, you're like, how much did you get paid? What favors did you owe in Hollywood that you wanted to do this? Or are you just a hilarious dude that wanted to have a crack at comedy? Because it just makes no sense that he would direct this. So yeah, they go around town scouring the city, posting flyers, getting people to come to their party. Andy Milonakis shows up. He's not as a cameo, he plays a character in the movie. And their goal is to have this party, but things keep going awry. Like there's one scene where they go into like the basement of the house or something, and there's like literally a hellhound, a demonic devil, and they're like, what? What the fuck? A coyote broke in? Another scene where like shit's flipped all around, and clearly there's been an incident in the house, and they're like, people are not gonna squat in our house and eat our food. We're standing up to this now and having this party. They have a fire marshal come in that gets swallowed by the pits of hell himself. But they don't see that. They're like, oh dude, he must have said like, we passed the inspection, and they're just so clueless. And they finally have the party, and it's banging, dude. Like half the city is there, dude. Like baddies are there. They meet 3 girls that are like, we'll come to your party, and there's something evil about them. You're like, are they killers? Are they psychopaths? What? And Joey Lawrence comes, the lesser of the lesser cooler brother. I don't care what anyone says. The Lawrence brothers are iconic. Joey's the least cool. I don't care how famous he was. Matthew Lawrence was the best one. He was the best in Boy Meets World. He deserves more. The party kicks off. Things start to go unfavorable in their way, and these dudes are going to do whatever they can to keep this party going. Like there's this one scene where this girl goes to the bathroom and the toilet eats her alive, and then as this giant line of people are waiting to go to the bathroom, the dude knocks on the door and he's like, oh, no one's in there, sits down and takes a dump while she's still in there. Her head's in there. And then I think like 2 of the bros, they go to investigate and they're like, oh my God, that's an ungodly dump. That is big. Oh, why does it look like there's eyes in there? Oh, and they're freaked out. And in your mind, you're picturing, that's disgusting, that's vile. Might be like a giant blobby shit with like maybe like an eyeball poking out. Like it could look like a face. Oh, that's weird. And then they do a thing where they take a selfie for ratemypoop.com and they show the picture and it's literally a chick's head with like a fucking poop piece of shit, like a big dump on her head. Like you can clearly see that's a head. And then later they go to hang out in the jacuzzi with 3 baddies, like baddies with a capital B, and they're dead because they got fucking heated up by the hot tub because they're in hell's backyard. And they're like, hey ladies, mind if we join? And it takes them like fucking 3 minutes to figure out they're dead. And instead of telling everyone like anyone should, be like, hey, let's end this party, call the cops, and like have the safety of the people fine, they're like, no, let's hide this, even from their best friend. And as all this is happening, we're clearly learning that the 3 girls that came to the party that were like, they're weird, they're creepy, there's something wrong with them, they're demons. And one of them is the devil herself, himself, itself, whatever. And the movie's just fun. Like there are parts that crack me up. Like there was one scene where Andy Milonakis is flirting with this goth chick and he's like, how do you eat cereal with all those piercings? And she like slaps the shit out of him. The movie doesn't take itself seriously. There's a side character named Backwater who used to be like the crazy rebellious friend of the group. Like, remember when he used to get so drunk and wake up in different cities, all this crazy stuff, and when he shows up he's like a pastor, and you're like, oh, that's gonna tie into the movie later because he's gonna like save them and save himself and redeem himself. But he doesn't. He just bangs bitches and drinks beers the whole movie. It's a wasted character. I don't get it. And just so much chaos ensues. But I will say, if you're wondering, Andy Milonakis, he gets slapped. Yeah, he walks away with the baddies at the end, and let's just say good overcomes evil this time, and it was just a funny movie all around. I would like to point out the interesting similarities, maybe coincidences, that both Robert Englund's horror movies were demonic pieces. You know, from the killer phone line to the killer pad ran by the devil itself, the devil's backyard. What are the odds? Maybe very slim. Maybe he did that on purpose. But differently contrast movies, but the one thing I will say that they connect together, as much as it pains me to say, is the lack of skill. Like I never want to discredit people. Like, I'm a filmmaker, I know how hard it is to make a movie, how much work it goes into making a movie, but the continuity really ruins 976 Evil, and the acting and production and vibe, even though it was funny and hilarious to me and interesting and was just a vibe, early 2000s vibe, Killer Pad was just not a great movie. But they're both demonic and they're both made by Freddy Krueger, so what more can you ask for? But alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was fun to talk about 2 great movies that, again, very different from each other, but they're fun all around. Have you seen either of those movies? Comment down below, let me know what you think. What movie do you want to see me do next? Do you want me to do Fright Night? Because I will. Do you want me to do another Tales from the Crypt one? Comment if you want Tales from the Crypt, comment, hey dude, you should do Tales from the Crypt. And I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me what you want me to, fuck up for you. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, give me a thumber, hit that ding-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here. And I'm gonna say it 1 time for the 1 time and 2 time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror, please.
I'm Lucy from next door.
If we were to have a party, would you come?
I'd love to.
We have got great neighbors. Oh,